Hello everyone, this is Theo. For today's video, we are going to take a look at Fabriano 5 50% cotton watercolor paper that's made by Fabriano, made in Italy. So this is one of the many papers sold by Fabriano for watercolor painting. They also have studio watercolor paper, which has 25% cotton content. This one is supposed to be Fabriano Studio as well because it has 25% cotton content, but for some reason the studio label is not on the watercolor pad. Anyway, this is their top of the line paper with 100% cotton. This is Fabriano Artistico. So today I'm going to draw and paint on this paper and see how good it is. The pad that I have here has 20 sheets. The paper is 300 GSM. It's 9 by 12 inches and it's acid free. It says here that it's free of animal components. Let's take a look at the paper texture first. Oh, okay, I have some sketches here. Let me just remove this first. So the paper is actually glued on 4 sides with an opening here for you to remove the paper. That's quite loud. Oops. Paper on Fabriano 5, it's bright white compared to the creamy off-white look of the Fabriano Artistico. And I can see the direction of the paper grain. It runs like this. Maybe it's easier to see it with some colors. Let's paint a gradation and see how it looks. Next, let's see how one color blends into the other. This is Hansa Yellow Medium with French Ultramarine. By the way, this paper is also available in hot press as well as rough. You can get it in a glued pad like this, or a spiral pad, or even in loose sheets. And now let's have wet on wet. So I'm going to charge in some color when this wash is still wet. Let's have phthalo blue. Let's put a drop here, one here, here, and here. Let's paint a horizontal line across. Let's paint a vertical line here. So the paint doesn't seem to be moving much, and there seems to be these vertical streaking lines. With good watercolor paper, you're supposed to see very soft transition between the colors. The color blends should be very diffused, very soft, but here I can see some streaking lines. And it seems like the paint, it's not moving much even though the surface is wet. Now let me paint one layer over this phthalo blue. Did it pick up the paint? Let me try again. Perhaps I used too much phthalo blue beneath. So I've just washed my brush. Let's see if I can pick up some of the color. It looks like I am able to. The paper is definitely quite durable. So I don't see any paper fiber coming off the surface even though I have scrubbed the paper several times. Most of these are dry, so let's see what we have. Now with the proper technique, you can definitely paint gradations or color blends. These were painted with the paper tilted at an angle, and I still see some back run. Can you see the edge of the waterline? I'm not sure if it's because of my technique or the paper. The color blend here looks better, but I can still see some hints of back run. Perhaps it's because I used too much water at the bottom. Wet on wet doesn't seem to work as well, so the paint, it doesn't move much on wet surface. Let me show you a comparison. So this was also painted wet on wet. You can see the horizontal line, but the edges, they are very diffuse, very soft. This is also a horizontal line, but you can barely make out the horizontal line. But here it's very obvious. Glazing looks fine, but you have to use staining paint beneath. Lifting looks fine as well. Let's see how ink works on the paper. Ink actually works really well. There is no feathering at the edges. Pencil works fine as well. Let's have paint over the ink. Let's have yellow blend with blue. This is Hansa Yellow Medium. Let's blend it with ultramarine. So as mentioned earlier, wet on wet, it doesn't work that well. So when you are blending colors, the paint, they are not going to move much. So you have to really go in manually to blend the colors, which is actually a lot of work. If you want smooth transition, you have to really do a lot more work. This paper, I think it's good for quick pen and ink sketches where you don't have to do a lot of blending. So you can just apply one wash and leave it. My recommendation is, well, if you do want to get this paper, it's best to test it thoroughly before you use it to paint. Here's the earlier sketch. This was drawn with pen and ink and painted with Schmincke Aqua Drop liquid watercolor. It's slightly easier to blend colors with liquid watercolor. Here we have glazing or layering. I cannot remember if it's red on blue or blue on red, but glazing works. The colors are not as vibrant as I expect, and it's not because of the paint. I think it's because of the paper. So the paper soaks in the paint quite quickly, and as a result, not a lot of paint remains on the paper. So when light is reflected off the paper, it doesn't reflect through the paint. So that results in slightly less vibrant colors compared to high quality watercolor paper where the paint will remain on the surface. And also because the paper absorbs the paint quite quickly, if you want to paint gradations or color blends like this, you have to work really fast. When you paint a stroke like this, the paint will go into the paper really quickly. So if you want soft edges, you have to work very quickly before the paint really goes into the paper. So those are my findings with Fabriano 5. I believe this paper is good for people who like to paint details, who like to paint with hard edges. If you're someone who likes to paint wet on wet, you like color blends, feathering, all those soft edge effects, this is not a paper I would recommend. Alright, so if you happen to be using this paper, if you use Fabriano 5 as well, I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the paper. And yeah, thanks for watching today's video. See you guys in the next video. Bye!